Are you looking for an affordable rural Iowa town to buy some real estate? If you said yes, congratulations, you found a video that may suit your needs. We've been doing a series of videos about great rural towns in the United States. The problem is, when a place is considered great, it's also expensive. And that's just how the world is. When something is good and most people want it, it's expensive. Like a Tesla Model Y. With all the safety features and autopilot, costs about $80,000. Most people would want one. A 2002 Pontiac Aztek with a piano wire seatbelt and a couch cushion instead of an airbag goes for about $73. You gotta chase the possum out of the back yourself. Today we're looking at affordable rural towns in Iowa and why they're so cheap. A couple things you should know. First of all, it's really hard to find a really bad town in Iowa. Most of this state is really nice and the people are wonderful. It's just, sometimes they're cheap and they're cheap for a reason. As an added bonus, I'll tell you about some government programs that'll help you buy some rural real estate. One of the programs can help you even if you have a really low income. Get it? Got it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 5, Casey, Iowa. Casey sits about 45 minutes west of Des Moines and about an hour east of Omaha, smack dab in the middle of what is known as nowhere. There is nothing to do here but mow your lawn, eat, and watch World According to Briggs videos. Not a lot of people live here. There's only 391 residents, and they have a thumbs down when it comes to their crime rate. It's actually 23% above the national average. Their violent crime rate isn't horrible. It's 13% above the national average, which, like I've said before, places like Detroit and Chicago, you got neighborhoods where it's 500% above the national average. Their property crime kind of sucks though. It's 25% above the national average. And that normally is a thing when you have high poverty levels, which Casey does. They get a big thumbs down for their poverty level. They actually have 16.6% of their population living below the poverty line. They're not making a lot of money here. The median household income, that means the whole house, on average makes $39,500 a year. That is 29% lower than the national average. Now the good things are, they have good real estate prices, a low cost of living, and they do get good internet. Their real estate gets a faded thumbs up because they don't have anything right now, but in recent months, like April and March, they sold quite a few homes for under $150,000. These are nice, livable homes that go for $150,000. If you buy something for $250,000 in Casey, Iowa, it's really a gem. So if this is someplace you're thinking about, keep an eye on Zillow, Redfin, whatever, something will pop up. Real estate prices are on the rise through most of the country, but when it's this low and in middle America, it's not climbing that fast, especially in the rural towns. You get in the cities, might be a different story, but rural real estate is not growing that fast in flyover states. Casey gets a thumbs up when it comes to their cost of living. It's actually 22% below the national average, which is pretty good. Like I said, they get a thumbs up for their internet. They have Casey Mutual Telephone Company, which offers 200 Mbps fiber for about 85% of the town. Then they have like Coon Valley Co-op, which also offers 200 Mbps for about 10% of the town. They have like 3 other companies that cover about 5% of the town. I like any town that has news like this. This is like their big news. A Casey native veteran will be the keynote speaker of the 15th annual Vietnam Veterans Observance. His name is Colonel Jim McClung. I think it's McClung. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. If not, I'm sorry, I apologize. He's a retired Marine Corps vet who served 2 tours in Vietnam. He left Casey to go to Quantico, Virginia for training as a Marine. I watched an interview with him and he said that was quite a big deal back in the day because not a lot of people traveled outside of Casey. And he was going all the way to Virginia. Interesting fact, most of the streets here are named after Union Army generals from the American Civil War. They get a faded thumbs up for their healthcare because they don't have anything in town. Not that I could find. You're going to have a little bit of a trip to one of the local communities that might have a clinic or a hospital, and it could be anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes away. Number 4, Chester, Iowa. Chester, Iowa sits about 2 hours north of Cedar Rapids. It's right there on the Minnesota border. So you know it's going to be cold in the winter here. And that's with most of the places in Iowa. Not a lot of people realize how cold it gets during the winter. So that's a problem. If you got a problem with cold in the winter, stay out of Iowa. I got a video coming up on Arizona. That's where you should go. If you do decide to move to Chester, I'm sure they'd be happy to have you. Other than this last census, 2020, they had been losing population since the 1930s. In the 1930 census, they maxed out with 238 residents. In 2010, they had 127, and in 2020, they went all the way up to 139. So I'm sure they'd be happy to see you. They don't get many fresh faces, other than the occasional truck driver that drops off a load and maybe someone fell off their canoe and washed ashore in Chester off the upper Iowa River. Chester gets a thumbs down for their crime rate. It's actually 31% below the national average. Their property crime rate is 33% below the national average. When you only got 139 people living in the town, that's not hard to do, but it is what it is. They get a thumbs down for their poverty rate. Also, it's actually 32% of their population lives in poverty. The median household income in Chester is $29,375 a year. That's 47% lower than the national average. When it comes to healthcare, they're getting a thumbs down for that too. They have nothing in town other than a fire department that looks like it's being housed in a big aluminum shed. If you need an emergency room, you're going to have to do a little traveling. It's about 30 minutes away. In a town called Cresco, I believe you pronounce it, they got an emergency room, hospital, the whole bit. But anything major, you're probably going to have to head up to Rochester, Minnesota, which is to the north, 45 minutes to an hour away. They get a thumbs down when it comes to real estate for one reason only. Hardly anything's for sale. If it is for sale, it's probably a lot and you'd have to build your own house on it. But that lot may run you $15,000. The last house they did sell was in February of 2021 and it went for $20,000. That was 3 bedrooms and 1 bath and it didn't look horrible. Chester gets a thumbs down when it comes to internet. Now I've seen conflicting reports on 2 different websites. CenturyLink offers internet here. One said that it was to 55% of the town. The other one said it was 45% of the town. One also said it was only 10 Mbps, which sucks. And the other one said they can get up to 50 Mbps, which still kind of sucks. The good news is they got a really cool water tower. It's nice blue, says Chester on it. That's the highlight of this town. Number 3, Linden, Iowa. Linden, Iowa is not a great place to live, especially if you're looking for things like excitement, nightlife, dating options. Don't move to Linden for that. Linden doesn't have a lot going on. Matter of fact, the last time they had any excitement was in 2014 when a drunk driver led police on a chase and it ended in Linden. They didn't quit talking about that till 2019. They do have the Raccoon Valley Trailhead here, which is a nice bike path, hiking path. It's paved and it goes 89 miles. Which is kind of cool. It's not like it's going through mountains or along cliffs. It's just going through the fields of Iowa, but it's still kind of cool. They also have the Middle Raccoon Valley, not too far to the west of town. That's kind of cool. But that's about it. I don't think there's any legit businesses here like a restaurant, a diner, nothing. I mean, there's Corey's Tire and Auto Repair. You can go down there, pull up a lawn chair and cheer every time he changes a tire. That sounds exciting. Other than that, there's nothing here. In 1910, Linden maxed out its population with 315 residents. In 2020, they had 200. And right now, it's estimated they have 186. When it comes to their crime rate, it's not terrible, so they're getting a faded thumbs up. Their crime rate is 6% higher than the national average. Their property crime rate is 8% higher, so it's not the worst. When it comes to poverty, they're getting a faded thumbs down. It's not terrible, but it's not great. 11.5% of this town lives below the poverty line. They have an unemployment that's about 9% right now. The median household income is $37,375 a year. That's 32% lower than the national average. Now, the reason they get on this list, there is just nothing in this town. You got to go outside of town for everything, including hospitals, emergency rooms, doctor's office, anything. So their healthcare gets a thumbs down. If you need a real hospital, big one with any specialists, anything like that, you got about a 38-mile trip to Des Moines. To the west, they do have Guthrie County Hospital, which is smaller, but it's a hospital, 24 hours a day, emergency room, all that stuff. And that's about 15, 16 miles away to the west. When it comes to internet, they get a faded thumbs down. They only have Windstream in town, which I've seen 2 different reports. One said that they can get up to 50 Mbps. Another one said they can get up to 80 Mbps. And one said that they cover 98% of the town. The other one said they cover 89% of the town. So my advice is definitely call ahead if you do decide to buy a place here. Now let's talk about buying a place here. They get a thumbs down because there's nothing for sale here right now. And when they do have something for sale, it's really not the cheapest. That you'd expect out here in the middle of Iowa. They sold a couple homes here in May of 2022, one for $246,000, one for $270,000. They got other newer homes that were sold for $370,000, $468,000, yeah, $220,000. This is the middle of Iowa. Your prices aren't supposed to be that high. But they get a big thumbs up for their cost of living because it's actually 25% lower than the national average. I mean, their cost of living is nice, their housing prices are a little much. Number 2, Exira, Iowa. Exira seems like a nice place to be from. I'm sure most high school seniors start planning their escape sometime around their first homecoming dance when they realize there isn't even a hotel in town for the after party. Exira sits about an hour west of Des Moines and weeks away from day drinking because there's nothing else to do. And it shows. Exira's been losing population since 1950. They've had a couple years where they went up a little bit, but most years they've been losing population. In 1950, they maxed out with 1,100 residents. Right now they're sitting on a population of 787. And they get a thumbs down for their crime rate. Their total crime rate is 24% above the national average. Their property crime rate is 26% above the national average. When it comes to poverty, they get a faded thumbs down. It's a little strange here. 16.6% of the population here lives below the poverty line. Their unemployment rate, though, is 4%, which is 20% lower than the U.S. average currently here in May of 2022. And their median household income is $39,444 a year, which is 29% lower than the national average. So they have jobs, these jobs just aren't paying well. So those things aren't great. They also get a thumbs down when it comes to their internet. They don't have much to choose from. They have Connect by Windstream, which offers 200 Mbps, but it only offers it to 75% of the town. When it comes to healthcare, they get a faded thumbs up because they have the Exira Medical Clinic in town. So that's decent. It's kind of small. I'm sure they do great things, but if you need to go to a hospital, you got Guthrie County Hospital, which is to the east, about a half hour away. Anything major, you got the Long Trip, which is over an hour into Des Moines. Exira gets a big thumbs up when it comes to their cost of living, which is actually 25% lower than the national average. When it comes to their housing, they're almost neutral, but maybe a faded thumbs down because they got nothing to offer right now. But when they do, which in March and April of this year, they did sell some homes. Most homes here sell for under $150,000, and they sold a bunch last year for under $100,000. Now these are livable homes ready to move in. They're under $150,000 in most cases. If you buy anything that's above $250,000, you're living in a really nice place here. But they got nothing for sale, and if this is the type of place you're thinking about moving to, yeah, keep an eye on it on Zillow or Redfin, whatever you want to do. All right, before we get to number 1, like I said, there's some information I wanted to give you, and there's a link down below for this. But the Single Family Housing Program is from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and they're helping people move to rural towns. There's a big push for rural towns. That's why I've been doing a lot of videos on it. People that are remote workers, retirees, decided they don't want to be anywhere near a city. Fixed income retirements aren't getting you as far as they used to in Florida and Arizona and places like that. So a lot of people are looking at places like Iowa, Nebraska, whatever, to move to small rural towns. Your money goes a lot further there. But there's a couple different programs. The first one is the Single Family Housing Direct Loans, which helps you purchase or build with no money down in eligible rural areas. And this helps out low and very low income families. You also have the Single Family Housing Guarantee Loan Program. Again, purchase or build with no money down in rural areas that are approved for moderate household incomes. There is a link down below. Make sure you check it out. See if you fit the bill on this. You could be living in a rural town in a year or two. Just go through the programs. I don't think this is really a handout if you're getting something like this from the government because you're helping these communities stay alive. So the government's helping you and you're helping out some small community, bringing some new blood in there, whether you're a remote worker, whatever. All right, on to number 1. And number 1. Volga, Iowa. Volga sits about an hour north of Cedar Rapids, not too far west of the Mississippi River. Volga, formerly known as Volga City, was laid out as a town in 1852, and it was actually named after the river that flows through town called the Volga River, which that river is actually named after the Russian river of the Volga River. Even though they changed the name from Volga City to just Volga, they got a lot of things in town that are still called Volga City, like Volga City Lumber, Volga City Opera House, and Volga City Hall. Wait, I don't know if Volga City Hall is actually Volga's City Hall. I don't know. Who knows? Moving on. Volga has lost population in all but one census since 1940. There's not a lot of things keeping people here, and I'm sure they're going to continue to lose residents. And that's why I think they're probably eager to get some new blood in town. Maybe one of those programs we just talked about will help you move to Volga. If you got any major medical issues, I wouldn't move to Volga. They get a thumbs down when it comes to healthcare because there is nothing in town, at least nothing I could find. The nearest thing is about 9 miles to the northeast, and that's a small medical center. Anything major, you got about an hour drive into Cedar Rapids. Volga also gets a thumbs down when it comes to their crime rate. It's 18% above the national average. Their property crime rate is 25% above the national average, which isn't good. They get a faded thumbs down when it comes to poverty. Almost 9% of their population lives below the poverty line. Their unemployment rate currently is 6%, and that's 39% higher than the US average. Their median household income is only $36,042 a year. That's 35% lower than the national average. They're not making a bunch of money here if they even have a job. While I was researching this, I found out that a 61-year-old Volga man decided to kidnap a teenage girl. That was just last year. If convicted, he's going for the long trip, which is life in prison. When it comes to internet, Volga gets a thumbs down because they don't have much to offer you. They have a bunch of satellite things, which we've learned on this channel kind of suck, but they have Windstream that only offers 12 Mbps. That's their fiber or their DSL, and they only offer it to 64% of the town. That's not good. You might be able to get Starlink here, but I couldn't find any reports on how good it is in this area, so that's that. Now let's talk about the good things about Volga. Volga gets a big thumbs up for their cost of living, which is 25% lower than the national average. Outstanding, Volga. When it comes to real estate, they get a faded thumbs up. They probably get a thumbs up, but they don't have anything for sale right now. When they did last year, they sold 4 different homes, all of them under $100,000, and all of them looked livable. Now I'm just going off of what Zillow's showing me, but it looked pretty good. A lot of their homes that go for sale are under $50,000, and they're decent. Maybe need a coat of paint, a little cleanup, they're decent homes to live in. Like all 5 of the towns on this list, they're not the greatest place to live. They got some crime, they got some other issues, but they are inexpensive, and it's Iowa. Even though they got some problems, it's still pretty good. Kind of like hot pizza versus cold pizza. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a productive day, and be nice to each other.